Hi, Total Recapped here. Today we will be going through the events of the 2013 action comedy movie R.I.P.D, directed by Lana and Robert Schwenke. Warning, this video contains spoilers, so watch at your own risk. Now, let's get right into the movie. Nick Walker works for the Boston Police Department as a police officer. One night, Nick digs a hole in the backyard and buries gold. He covers it with an orange tree. When Nick's wife Julia inquires about it, he pretends to be unaware of it and claims that it symbolizes prosperity. He asks if she wants a lovely house and good cash. She tells it all she wants is her husband and does not go for riches at all. Upon hearing this, Nick develops a face of guilt. Nick's colleague, Bobby Hayes, asks Nick what he did to his part of the gold. Nick says that he buried it. He tells Bobby that he is out of what they are doing. Bobby replies that they just got the gold from nowhere and they could keep it. A police officer enters and announces that they have located Garza, the leader of drug dealers. The team quickly heads towards the place. They open fire and enter the building. Nick spots Garza and follows him. As he makes his way up the flight of steps, he discovers that Garza has made his way out of the hole in the wall. As Nick turns back, Bobby appears from the side door. He shoots Nick by saying that he can't let Nick surrender the gold. Because of the shot's force, Nick is knocked to the ground. Nick opens his eyes when he hears Julia's voice. He stands and sees that everything around him has become immobile. Nick comes out of the building and gazes to the sky. He notices a vortex of clouds in the sky and finds himself sucked towards it. As he soars into the vortex, he soon finds himself in a chair in front of a woman. The table of the woman is marked with the name of Proctor. The Proctor says that she had been in that chair too. Nick inquires with her if he is dead. She tells Nick possesses skills that they want. Then Proctor asks him to take his chances by judging his deeds or joining the Rest in Peace Department, r.i.p.d. She explains that the department looks for the dead people who have escaped judgment. These people are then shipped to the places where they belong. She tells the service time to be 100 years. She asks that if he is ready to join the department, they will send him back to his hometown. As soon as he hears this, Nick impatiently expresses that he is not ready for the offer. The Proctor says that his approach will not work as he wants to join the department to get closer with Julia. The Proctor gives Nick a gun and he takes it. He is then tattooed with the r.i.p.d emblem on his left chest. The woman walks outside the door and Nick follows her. They get into a big prison-like hall. The Proctor says that those behind bars are called deados. She explains that they seem like humans until they pop out in their dreary figure. The Proctor further states that except for the r.i.p.d, no one can identify them as dead. She clarifies that if dead people slip through the crack, they are left inside the earth, causing the world to get rotten. Nick questions her about why they are left behind. Proctor explains that a substantial volume of people die every day, more than the holding capacity of r.i.p.d. She says that the deados would have taken over the earth centuries ago if r.i.p.d did not exist. Then they finally enter into the r.i.p.d Boston office. One of the officers, Roy, comes and sits in a chair after making a scene by shooting at a deado in the office hall. The Proctor introduces Nick as a new partner of Roy. Roy, however, declines the offer, stating that he is a single-man operation. The Proctor then orders Roy that he doesn't have any choice. Roy approaches Nick and extends his hand in greeting. The moment Nick forwards himself, Roy steps back and reminds him that he must earn it. They enter an automated washroom and Roy informs Nick that they are going for a ride. They come out in a VCR repair shop in the real world. Roy drives Nick to the funeral. Nick gets emotional and watches his funeral from a distance. Roy shares that he watched his funeral performed by many coyotes who dragged his bones into a cave. At the funeral, Julia gets upset and starts walking away. Seeing this, Nick runs towards Julia. He gets past the officers and tells Julia that he is here. Julia turns back and says that she does not recognize him. The police officers grab Nick. Bobby and Julia get into the car and go away. Nick returns to Roy and asks him how she did not recognize her. Roy explains that people do not acknowledge or hear him as Nick. He asks Roy about his present appearance. Roy hands over Nick with his ID. Nick looks over them and gets disgusted upon finding his identity as an elderly Chinaman. He asks Roy's identity and gets stunned at seeing a gorgeous girl. In the car, Nick questions Roy's time during his service. Roy replies that he is Marshal Roisvus Pulsifer, famous as the lawman in the 1800s. Nick gets surprised as Roy takes out a packaged Indian food and explains to Nick that one of the informants gave a tip about a deado in the hotel and that they were going for it. As they enter the hotel, Roy tells Nick that a dead person infects everything. They find a strange room and enter it. Roy sits in a chair and interrogates the person as a health officer. He starts eating an Indian dish and asks Nick to question him as written on the card. As they question, the person gets uncomfortable due to the food and becomes a giant unearthly creature. It runs away after stealing a bag of chips from the refrigerator and swallowing them all. It rushes again after leaping from the window onto the street. As Nick looks down the window, Roy pushes Nick out of it. They both float in the air and bump to the ground. Nick discovers that they are not hurt. They quickly take off after the monster. Nick beats the beast and it vomits the chips. Nick looks over them and gets astonished at finding the identical gold that he buried in his backyard. Roy shoots and kills it. Nick gets enraged at Roy's filthy mouth and throws him into the path of a moving bus. Roy loses his cowboy hat. Back to the department, Roy tells Nick that he does not care about being thrown to a bus but is unhappy about losing his hat. They take the gold with them and submit it to the department as evidence. Nick gets curious about why the Deado possessed similar gold crumbs when he was buried. Roy answers that most of them collect such items for religious fundraising. Nick does not take it and then asks Roy to let him meet the informant. Nick visits the informant and interrogates him about the gold. Nick does not get a satisfactory answer and leaves the gold with him. They sit in a car outside while the informant comes out with the gold. Bobby shows up in a car and takes the gold from the informant. It surprises Nick further. They follow Bobby's car. Bobby stops at Nick's house. He asks Julia if Nick buried something. Julia takes him to the orange tree. Bobby pulls the orange tree and unearths the hidden gold. He puts all the gold in the briefcase and leaves the place. The duo follows Bobby to a public building. A big guy appears in front of Bobby. A dog in the hallway constantly barks at the big guy. Roy gets suspicious and tells Nick that the guy is a Deado. The big guy moves away after taking the gold briefcase from Bobby. Nick and Roy follow him. Nick points a gun at him down the escalator and takes him to the freezer. The guy acknowledges them as r.i.p.d. and laughs at them. Nick interrogates him about the gold as he takes out a powder. The guy turns into a beast after sniffing it. Soon he breaks out through the door and flees to the highway. The duo follows him. They shoot at it as it runs up the building. Roy fires a hook at it and gets himself stuck. It climbs up the skyscrapers while Roy follows its lead hanging in the rope. The duo loses the Deado, but succeeds in getting hands over the briefcase. They take it back to their office and give it to the evidence. The proctor shouts at them for losing the Deado in the middle of the day. The heads of r.i.p.d. send a message to the proctor that the gold parts are the fragments of an ancient weapon known as the Staff of Jericho. It explains that the staff can reverse the soul flow from the afterlife to the earth. She is also ordered to suspend Roy and Nick from the case and erase them after the next day's hearing. Nick finds that it is his last day. He then moves to meet Julia in the stadium and tries to reveal himself. He touches Julia on her chin. Julia feels it familiar, but suddenly moves away as she doesn't recognize him. Roy explains to Nick that he is just frightening Julia and should leave her to live happily. Nick asks whether Roy is ready to stop an apocalypse on their last day at duty. Nick shares that he is amused at Bobby's link as he did not know about it during their time together at service for 5 years. Nick suspects him to be a Deado too, for his links with other Deados. Roy tells Nick that some artifact will protect the Deado from revealing its identity. Nick remembers a medal of St. Christopher on Bobby's arm all the time. They get confident about Bobby being a Deado and plan to go to his house to catch him. Bobby hands over a semi-spherical metal piece to the informant and shares how long the Deados waited for it to happen. He asks the informant to find himself some trouble and get caught by the r.i.p.d. Julia calls Bobby and shares that she feels like the Chinese guy is Nick, trying to talk to her. Bobby calms her and offers her dinner outside so that she can find company. Nick and Roy appear in front of Bobby's home. Bobby notices them coming and takes the other part of the spherical metal half from a box. Bobby identifies the Chinese guy to be Nick. Nick points a gun at Bobby and asks him to take out the metal in his hand. As Bobby does so, his house rips apart. Roy asks Bobby about the gold. He smiles at Roy while Nick tells him to check the water heater. Roy finds a large chunk of heavy X-shaped gold piece. Then Bobby is taken to the department along with the gold. They search Bobby and find the spherical metal half. They hand it over to the evidence. Nick notices Bobby acting cool and suspects him. He turns towards the evidence collection department and notices 2 spherical metal halves trying to connect at high speed. As he calls out for Roy, the metals join to be one circular object, and the action in the area freezes at once. Bobby looks at Nick and teases him, saying that this thing freezes everything but not the Deados. The Deados quickly run to the evidence storage and collect all the gold from there. They enter the washroom and come out to the VCR shop. As they leave, Roy shoots at the rotating objects and everything comes to action again. Roy and Nick follow the Deados back. All the Deados collect the gold in the Commonwealth building. After that, they form a barricade to stop anything from reaching the building. They prepare to build the Staff of Jericho by joining the gold fragments. As they initiate joining the gold pieces, a vortex starts forming in the sky. Nick and Roy fight them and head towards the building. Bobby's representatives bring Julia to the Commonwealth building. Bobby inserts the X-shaped gold into the staff. In doing so, the vortex gets energized through a beam that develops from the staff. Bobby tells Julia that he is about to make her sacrifice to the staff. Bobby sniffs a powder and changes into his Deado form. Julia gets frightened upon seeing this. Meanwhile, Nick and Roy reach the top of the building. Nick sees Julia and shouts at Bobby to not harm her. In the meantime, Bobby shoves Julia with a rod through her stomach. Julia gets down on the floor as the blood runs to the ground. The blood floats in the air and starts swirling inside the staff. The dead people inside the vortex begin to float reversely towards the earth. Nick asks Roy to head to the staff and destroy it. He then heads towards Bobby to fight him. He wrestles with Bobby as his gun is out of bullets. Roy tries to destroy the staff. He anchors a big vehicle stuck on the upper floor and pulls it down. After a great toil, the vehicle falls and breaks the staff. As the staff gets dismantled, the deados inside the vortex start directing away from the earth. The vortex disappears from the sky. Bobby sees towards the staff and exclaims with frustration. In the meantime, Nick reloads his gun and kills Bobby. Nick rushes to Julia as the surrounding gets frozen. They kiss each other affectionately. They share how badly each is missed. Both shed tears as Nick encourages her to live happily without him. Julia suddenly wakes up and finds herself in a hospital. The proctor appears as a doctor in front of her. She comes to Nick outside and assures that Julia will be fine soon. Roy asks the proctor that he wishes to design the medal to be provided for their heroic deeds. The proctor replies that she heads of r.i.p.d. had a disciplinary hearing on them. She said that Nick is warned for being a recruit, while Roy has added another 53 years in term as his punishment. The proctor gives Roy his missing hat surprisingly. Roy gets happy and says he should bring flowers to her. She comes closer and whispers that she is fond of violets. As the proctor moves away, Roy provides Nick a small bag and says he got a new ID for Nick. Nick gets overwhelmed and opens it. He gets dismayed on seeing the ID in the end. A beautiful model sits on the side seat while a petite Girl Scout drives the vehicle in a dissatisfied face. And that was my recap of the movie. Hope you enjoyed it. Now comment on what your favorite part was, and make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, take care and goodbye.